Broadcasting at high school football stadiums, basketball and volleyball courts, baseball and softball diamonds, next to the wrestling mats, at lacrosse fields, and the soccer pitch. If you would like to know more about how to get your favorite school on radio or webcast, contact us by email at coach@indianasrn.org. Coach has enjoyed his time with you during the Sports Zone show. Thank you again. And if you're enjoying this show or would like to sponsor any of our broadcasts, you can contact us via email at coach@indianasrn.org. Thank you again for listening and watching Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game. And don't forget to join us Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern for the Sports Zone.
Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
It's the Sports Zone with Keith Myers and the Indiana SRN sports team. Made possible by Morales Group, College Hunks and Movers, the IHSAA, and Aspen Creek Grill. Now, let's join Keith and his guests.
And thanks for joining us this morning on Indiana SRN. Nate Andrews with us as a head football coach at Northwood. But before those stops, LaPel and Western, and boy, you've learned a lot since then because those schools have taught you how to win state championships.
Well, we're trying. It's an ever process, but as I mentioned, learned a lot from Larry McWhorter at Zionsville, and felt confident enough to try to be a head coach. And LaPel was a great place to do that, to learn. Small school, really nice area, great community, and had a football program, but not one that had much success on the football field. And over the course of a year or so, we started to be competitive, and in year 2 we played for a sectional championship, and after that we were moved and changed conferences, and league became really tough. We were in a league that was had some really good dominant football playing schools, and even though we were pretty good football team, wins were hard to come by. It taught us a lot about coaching and taught our kids a lot about playing and how to overcome adversities, find small successes throughout the way and through processes, even if the scoreboard didn't reflect that.
Yeah, you look at that conference. You got Indianapolis-Scicino that was in that conference, who's won a couple of state championships. Indianapolis-Ritter, they have won a few state championships. Lutheran, who has won their share of semi-states and was a state runner-up. I mean, you look from top to bottom. Cascade is the new school that's involved in that conference now, and they're learning the same way you guys learned that, boy, this is a tough conference because there's a lot of parochial schools in that conference.
People forget about how good a football school Eastern Hancock is and what Shenandoah does year in and year out. And back at that time, Park Tudor was playing really well and had some really good athletes. So, competitive to say the least.
You go back to those days, and I think you and I met, I think we did our roundtable show when Indiana SRN was really young. Now that we have blown up to as many stations that we have, and now 4 webcast TV stations, this would be a great time for us and you and I to hook back up, because I think we could do you some just good, because I think we only maybe had 5 listeners, my wife, your wife, and the next door neighbors. Now we have over 3 million people logging on to listen to our broadcast. So back in those days, though, we all were learning from each other, because if you remember, Gary Catholic was just starting their role as well. It was just a lot of fun back those days.
Seems like it, doesn't it? And you mentioned that, we were opening up with our rival and our own school corporation, Frankton. And then we would play Heritage Christian, and I think by week 3 or 4, it was Guerin. So, boy, it was a lot of fun and very, very, very competitive.
go back to those days, and when you teach your kids now the system, your system, because I'm sure it's the same system that you had, maybe fine-tuned it a little bit, but is there that learning curve now that it's a lot easier for you to maintain? I know your quarterbacks have been sensational up there. The year you won the state championship, it was that key backfield that did really well, but that front line did well too. So is the system a little bit easier to teach, and does kids understand it a little bit more?
Well, I think so. I think as coaches, we get a little bit better at it, and especially when you do have an opportunity to maybe change schools, get a little bit different clientele background. Every time you do that, you learn a ton. You learn a ton about yourself, but you have to teach it to a whole new set of people. And it's not just the kids, it's the program. It's the community, it's the fans. So every time you get an opportunity to teach a different clientele base, you improve that much as a teacher, so as a coach. And when you do that, I think that you learn a little bit here and a little bit there. And you take bits and pieces from every stop, and you make yourself a little bit better. And so the kids pick up on it, understand a little bit, because maybe I'm able to reach more kids now, since I was able to reach a kid that was like-minded in that previous stop.
Coach Nate Andrews is with us, and Coach, go back to the state championship. When you won your state championship, first of all, compliments, well done. But how was that week, and how fun was that to just have that ride?
Well, I got to admit to you, you mentioned it a couple times, and I didn't want to correct you because it felt really good. But we were a state runner-up in 2016, so we made the state championship game. Oftentimes, it feels like you've reached the pinnacle of success when you get there. But we came up a little bit short to Ron Colley. It was a great run. We were an undefeated ball club. We led the state and offensive, tons of offensive categories. We were a run team. We were a throw team. Very dynamic, very balanced, and a really aggressive defense. And so we were undefeated and led the state in a lot of statistical categories, and got matched up against Ron Colley, and seems like their attrition rate, their numbers wore on us in the second half. We got banged up a little bit and then just couldn't quite get over the hump. They made a play where we were getting ready to score and intercepted the ball at the goal line, and changed the complexion of the game, the outlook of the game from there on. But what an incredible week. What an incredible season. We had some talent on our team, there's no doubt about it, but I think most coaches will tell you that those that get to the state championship game, those that get into the mix, those that have those runs, those are the teams, those are the ones that maybe love the game the most. Maybe those are the ones where the kids get along the best. Maybe those are the ones where the coach isn't dealing with discipline issues. Those are the ones where kids are going to class and doing the right things, and they're out in the community doing the right things and being good leaders and everything else. So, like I said, we had some talent on that team, but at the same time, we had a group of kids that believed in one another and each other and doing the right things. They believed in the process. Because of that, we were able to win some football games and string some along in the tournament.
You corrected me, which is good. But once you get to that championship game, both teams are good enough to win it, and they're, in my book, they're champions. And one may host the Vigor Trophy, but through and through, they're both pretty good champions.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And a lot of times, you get into those championship games and the scoreboard is a little lopsided, and that's not always indicative of the two teams that are there. It just maybe has something to do with a mental aspect where one team, just for whatever reason, that day was on a little bit more mentally. And, the state championship stage, that will do that to you every once in a while. And so I think that's important. People think that when they get there and then there's a lopsided score, that one team is that much better. Trust me, chances are if they played on neutral sites on a different day in a different stage, that those scores would probably be a lot closer.
we talk about before we go on break, there's some new coaches in the state of Indiana. Covenant Christian has a new coach, as you're very much aware of. Coach Dan is coaching that team. And, his philosophy, we've become pretty good friends back and forth, jab each other because he was an umpire. He can't see balls and strikes, but he can coach the game of football. What advice would you get the new coaches this year, as there's 65 new coaches that will start coaching in the fall? What do you say to them?
Well, the thing about it is, and when you're a new coach, oftentimes they'll call and they'll ask for advice and they'll say, I don't know if I'm ready for this, but I'm going to give it a shot. Well, I got news for you. You're never ready for it. And, because until you're in it, you have no idea the things that come up, and you're going to have to handle them a little bit different all the time. And so I would say roll with the punches. Now, stick to your guns. Stick to the things that you believe in, your pillars, and those moral values. Stick to those, but be able to be flexible enough that you can roll with punches and you can deal with lots of different type of people in a lot of different types of ways. So I think that's my philosophy. Yeah, you're never ready for it. No, either as a veteran coach, they're never ready for the next season because of the things that you have to deal with and that will come up over the course of a season and a school year. So have those morals, believe in those, stick to those, hold your ground on those, but there's going to be some other things that you're going to have to learn. There's going to be a learning curve with and through, and you're going to have to have a little bit of give and take in that.
Can you believe you're going to be your 14th or 15th year?
Boy, I don't even know. Let me think here. Okay, so 5, 7. Looks like this will be 14 as a head coach. Yep.
See, you're such a veteran that you don't even remember the first day, do you?
No,
you're just ready to go.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, let's take a 2-minute break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the Coaches Association and your involvement there. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. And this 2-minute timeout, you're listening to Indiana SRN, and you're listening to the Sports Zone. Right after this, more.
There's no greater anti-poverty measure than to give a person a job. That helps them start to change that trajectory. Thousands of people get jobs here from all of these diverse backgrounds. We're helping write that story of that better future that we know they can get, we know that they deserve.
Morales Group is a full-service staffing company that provides temporary labor in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana market.
Come talk to us. We would love to work with you.
It's been said the night is always darkest just before the dawn. Maybe you can relate right now. But make no mistake about it, a new day is dawning. Opportunity and promise are on the horizon for all of us. And just like in high school sports, we'll trust honesty, empathy, hard work, and humility to bring out the best in us and show us the way. The IHSAA will look for you at a high school game or meet very soon.
Hey, everybody, it's Coach from Indiana SRN. Don't forget to listen to Sports Zone every day right here, 11 to 12 noon Eastern, Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
It's coming. It's coming. IPSathletics.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on IPSathletics.tv. Football, volleyball, basketball, and much more. Coming this fall, IPSathletics.tv. Let the games begin.
Back on the Sports Zone on this fine day, Nate Andrews joins us. As Nate, you've been with the Coaches Association now for 14 years. You've been a veteran. You've coached the North-South All-Star game, which we got to meet up again. And I talked to you earlier before today that I didn't want to interrupt you during game time because you were just fired up. You had that game look on your face. And I kind of liked that charge because I remember just starting out with you, how you were just soft as a pussycat. And then all of a sudden game day, man, game face came on. Be careful.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you mentioned 14 years. Yeah, looking back on it, it's been 20 years now as my time as an assistant. And Larry McWhorter got me started with that. And before that, my father played a huge role in the IFCA and our Coaches Association. So I always saw his responsibilities and admired those. And so, yeah, I've been around it a long time. When I was a kid, I was able to go to and participate as the son of my father, who was coaching in a couple All-Star games, and was there through those weeks. And my brother played in the game, and I played in the game. And had an opportunity now to be an assistant coach and a head coach in that All-Star experience. And so, when you mentioned the game face, my student athletes tease me a lot about it all, and about how that comes out and how intense it is. And most of the time, people in the stands or whatever think I'm yelling at a kid and mad at him and everything else. It's just firing him up, and it's an expression of intensity and belief that a kiddo can get the job done. And so, so we've been able to see the IFCA change and grow and develop, and there's tremendous leadership within it right now.
Yeah, really good, and it's kind of fun to hang out with them. It's fun. The week has changed a lot, but I remember back years ago, Dick Delahan got to coach one of those games, and I remember specifically that he's doing an interview, and he says, "I only got 3 minutes," and he stayed 35 minutes with me, and I'm going, "Okay,
that sounds about right."
Dick Delahan, and if you need a fill-in time, don't give it to Dick Delahan; he'll take it longer than that. So, you're up north now. I know you hear a little bit about Indiana SRN and what we do to Central Indiana, but what's your take on web TV and internet radio, the expansion that we've covered clear across the state? You're hearing nothing but good things. I know you watch us occasionally, but what do you hear?
Well, I'll tell you, life has changed, and therefore the flexibility of media and coverage and all that stuff has taken to that and done an excellent job of adjusting and to lifestyle. And I think that's really neat. And what I hear about is that, we have opportunities to highlight student athletes and highlight programs and highlight schools and communities in a positive way that are making impacts. And that's what I appreciate about it. Things like that are so important in life cannot get lost in the shuffle. Appreciate what you guys are doing and how you're going about it.
Well, you've been always a hero to us, and if there's anything we can do for you in the future, you let us know. Thanks for spending some time with us this morning, and we'll talk again, okay?
That sounds great. Really appreciate you having me on and being able to speak about the Northwood Panthers.
And, anytime you want to come on the air, you just call. You have my number now. I definitely will call you before football season starts. I guarantee
Tremendous.
you that. That's for sure. We'll take a break.
Sounds great.
We'll take a break. When we come back, a lot more for you on the Sports Zone on Indiana SRN.
It's been said the night is always darkest just before the dawn. Maybe you can relate right now. But make no mistake about it, a new day is dawning. Opportunity and promise are on the horizon for all of us. And just like in high school sports, we'll trust honesty, empathy, hard work, and humility to bring out the best in us and show us the way. The IHSAA will look for you at a high school game or meet very soon.
Hey, everybody, it's Coach from Indiana SRN. Don't forget to listen to Sports Zone every day right here, 11 to 12 noon Eastern. Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
Sports Zone continues on Indiana SRN. Thank you very much for joining us. Joining us now is athletic director and basketball coach at Christmas Attucks High School, Chris Hawkins. And Chris, I think we talked about a month before, but now that a couple of things have been announced that we can share as IPSathletics.tv joins IPS, and Attucks is part of that deal.
Yeah, that's really good. I know we had our partnership this past year. You guys are really great to us as far as with the radio and the web broadcast. So it's a great partnership. We're able to showcase our athletes, not just Attucks, but Washington, Shortridge, and Arsenal Tech. So it's a good day of IPS athletics and all our athletic teams, boys and girls as a whole.
Let's talk a little bit about the history that you have with SRN, but with your season dominated more basketball than we did volleyball, though there was a couple of volleyball games I know that you played some teams that we broadcast for. What's the talk with the student athletes about that extra effort that not only each school is doing, but now as a district they have taken hold and think that's a good thing?
No, I just think, with our kids, it's like, hey, you're able to watch it, their families and things like that. But I think also with our girls programs, our volleyball programs, our girls, I think our girls played Heritage Christian in like the quarterfinals quarterfinals of the city. So just being able to have that platform for them to be able to showcase their talents is really well. I think it gets the equity across the board for boys and girls sports. I know we're in that day and age where we're trying to make sure that everyone, is able to be seen and everyone has the opportunity to, be able to play on TV. Some people, high school may be the only chance, they're able to be on TV and people see. So being able to give them that opportunity is really good. And like I said, I just think, people, I like the big network, I like the other networks that broadcast games, but being able to showcase IPS kids and, how hard, there's some good stories, there's some good athletes, there's great coaches, they're great administrators that, put together things for the students to be able to perform at the level that they do. So I think, like I said, it's just, it's about time. I think it's been due, and I know you guys were, been working hard behind the scenes. And like I said, I know just talking with people, just having conversation with our alumni, our fans, and our parents, they really appreciate being able to watch it. And to be honest, my family, whenever, they're not able to be here or things like that, especially my brother who lives in Florida, about to move to New Orleans, he's able to watch it and trying to send me some Jet Van Gundy type quotes, depending on how bad I'm coaching. So, so it's really good for us. Like I said, I'm excited for our women's sports, just so they can have the opportunity. And then, like I said, that can drive more people, A, to the games, and then B, drive more people to listen. Because I know our numbers have been through the roof, especially for basketball.
Yeah, you talk about your alumni and your brothers and sisters. I know during the radio broadcast of a couple of games that they didn't get to go to, they were, the feedback was tremendous. You talk about gifted athletes, and this interview could not go on without you talking about Sincere McMahon and now him going on to college. I think he'll make an impact. But talk a little bit about Sincere's leadership and the quality of player and kid he is.
Oh, Sincere's a great player. Like I said, we got him as a junior. He was able to, find his way. We, wanted to get more defense out of it, and he took that challenge alone. And then we kind of talked, hey, our season ended one step before, we want to get to that state title game. He basically laid it out on the line. Hey, I want to win a state title. I want to be an Indiana All-Star. I want to be in the conversation for the Mr. Basketball Award. And so, he went hard, lost 10 to 15 pounds, became a leader, pushing our underclassmen and even our seniors, holding them accountable. I think he found his voice and how to, as we watch this Last Dance now, Michael Jordan is able to, pick his players up and push them to perform at that level. I think Sincere did a great job this year as far as with his leadership. With the kids, not only from our freshmen to our JV, but with the varsity players too. He's a well-spoken kid, great academically. He's really going to fit in that culture that Coach Prosser has at Western Carolina, and Coach Rack did a great job recruiting. And so we're excited to see, him take what he's learned here at Attucks and apply that out there. And, just become a great man and a great ambassador for his family and for Christmas Attucks as a whole. So, did a great job this year. And like I said, we challenged him every day, and then he stepped up to the plate in every form.
As we go on with this IPS Athletics.TV agreement and contract, Attucks is part of that. You start a new football coach that you have named. What is your fall outlook, and are you pretty pleased with the coach that has decided to lead the Christmas Attucks to the fall season?
Yeah, Ramon Stallings is our new football coach. Ramon has played collegiately at Butler. Was a 3-year letter winner there, and then started coaching. Tinley was a head coach then at Arlington when the takeover happened, and then 4 years he was a linebacker coach at North Central. Has a wealth of knowledge within the football game. He's able to bring, the same kind of offensive style we're going to run, but defensively, I think, he's going to bring some different methods and some different schemes to us. And like I said, he's a great man of character, building character in our kids and holding them accountable and, making them, do what they need to do on and off the floor. So we're really excited, and he's already started, putting workouts on our website to, let the kids know, hey, this is what we're doing weeks, and then he'll switch it up and just do that thing. So he's hit the ground running. I know it's not the perfect situation for him. He would love to be seeing the kids and doing things like that. I know he's had a couple of Zoom calls with the kids or whatever. But we're really excited to be able to, have a coach like him and have him come over and lead our men. And, we're excited. We have our schedule pretty much set. I think the only thing that we're looking at is just like a Week 9 game. But I think that's always during that fall break. So your numbers are kind of low that week. So it could be a week where we just, get healthy and then go into sectionals just extremely healthy. So, nice schedule that we have for this year, and we look to build on the great year that we had last year.
You talk about almost like a bye week anymore. A bye week is very healthy, as if you look at the tournament, the 5As and 6A schools get a first round bye, sectional wise, so to speak, so they can have time to heal. It may be a good thing to do with the regular season because the kids are getting faster, stronger, and maybe they need that 1 week just to rest before they go into sectional play.
Yeah, and that was, kind of just a thought process as far as when we were looking at it. I think, if we do what we need to do, I think that it will be good. But then I would think next year, hopefully, we are able to get Tinley back on the schedule for that last week. And then we probably would. Schedule will be probably set for the rest of the time. It's just, figuring out, how well do we do, and then do, how things shake out. So, it's a good problem to have, I think, right now for this year. And next year, hopefully, we're able to find a team that's kind of close and local, just so we can make sure that all our kids are available since we had that fall break.
If people want to get a hold of you or go to the museum, I know it's not open at this point, at the school, but how can they contact you, and then where will they be able to find your schedule, and where will they be able to see the IPS Athletic.TV schedule where your kids will be on, or has that been made yet?
So you're actually giving me some firsthand knowledge of everything actually being going down. So I know we have another meeting scheduled with our district AD, and this will be discussed. So for us, as far as communication, you can reach me at Hawkins c@myips.org. You can email me. Also, Twitter, Seahawk11 @Seahawk11. Respond there if you want to. Emails. And then as far as like our schedule, and once we get this schedule with the IPS, Indiana SRN, TV.org stuff going, that will be on our Christmas Attucks Athletics.com page. And I will make a tab just specifically as far as for those games that will be on there. So as soon as I get that scheduled, it will go up on our on all our social media platforms, so Facebook, Twitter, and then I'll make sure that our Christmas Attucks Twitter page and stuff updates with that also. So we just want to make sure that we can reach everybody on every social media platform that's available, and especially with our Alumni Association, they have a Facebook and different other outlets. So extremely, happy about this. And then, like I said, I just think it's a great way to just be able to stay connected with everyone. So it's really good, and I'm excited that this is happening.
Last question, your alumni, as you talked about your alumni association, your alumni is huge on the support. What brings that alumni people so charged to help with not only athletics but academic? You walk through your classrooms or your hallway when school's there. There's a lot of alumni there just to encourage the kids. Why is that such a strong bond?
I just think, like I posted like an image yesterday of just like the city title banners or whatever from the 5 years that we've won city title, and I think it's the tradition and excellence. I mean, the tradition of, I think, as you look back at those, the golden era, in the 50s, late 50s, and then 60s, and then the 70s, people took it upon themselves to make sure that the next kid at Attucks, or if there was a legacy, hey, this is how you handle yourself. This is how you hold yourself. When you're representing the school, the brand, and everything like that. So it's something that everybody takes joy in. They don't want to see anyone fail. They want to make sure that you have the opportunities, the things they weren't able to do. They want you to be able to have everything that you want to have. So, it's just a tradition and excellence in everything. So in academics and in sports, just in life. They just want you to be winners, and they want you to do it the right way, the Attucks way. And like I said, it's just more of just, that alumni. It's just, it's really great. Like I said, I never knew how big that alumni was and how much they cared and how much they supported. It's like when we came back from winning semi-state, the state championship year, and like the parking lot was full. And then just going to the state championship game, and then winning, coming back in the gym, and just, it was just unbelievable, the support, the passion, and the different things that happen. And then just, we have people, even for our sectional run that we had this year, that for football and basketball, that, hey, can we get a ticket or some type of stub or a book? Because they want to be a part of it, and they just want to keep that tradition and legacy going. So, like I said, it's just the excellence and the tradition that pushes everyone and that wants to see this brand succeed. So, I think another thing that we'll be coming out with, we're getting rebranded. So, it's going to be some different things coming out as far as athletics logos and things like that. So. It's an exciting time. That was a crazy time in the world right now, just with this COVID and everything like that. But I'm just excited to see, some things of what they come up with as far as for our logos and how we move forward, with athletics at IPS and at Christmas Attucks.
We're part of your family. We really appreciate being part of your family. We've been with you a couple of years, and you and I have developed a great relationship and friendship, and we appreciate everything that you've done for us. I know that WrestleMania probably didn't come out the way you wanted it to come out, but maybe that's another discussion at another time. But I know you're very, very busy, so I'll keep you brief here. But thanks so much for your time, Chris. I appreciate what you do, and one of these days we're going to be playing fall sports, and I know once the Attucks program is on that web TV broadcast, it's going to be really cool. And just thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning.
No problem. And like I said, thank you for extending that invitation and being able to help us as far as talk about our sports and talk about our athletes and giving them a chance to be seen. So appreciate it, excited about the partnership, and can't wait for that first game.
We'll take a break. When we come back, a lot more for you. You're listening to Indiana SRN and the Sports Zone.
It's coming. It's coming. IPSathletics.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on IPSathletics.tv. Football, volleyball, basketball, and much more. Coming this fall, IPSathletics.tv. Let the games begin.
It's been said the night is always darkest just before the dawn. Maybe you can relate right now. But make no mistake about it, a new day is dawning. Opportunity and promise are on the horizon for all of us. And just like in high school sports, we'll trust honesty, empathy, hard work, and humility to bring out the best in us and show us the way. The IHSAA will look for you at a high school game or meet very soon.
Do you want to hear your favorite team on IndianaSRN.org? It's easy to do, calling all the play-by-play and colored commentary. High school sports along with youth sport, Mr. Wizard is waiting for your call. Contact him at 317-443-0052. We're ready for every touchdown, basket, and goal. Contact Mr. Wizard, 317-443-0052. Today's games brought to you by Shin Technology Service Corporation. Technology is about humans and not about machines. Dave and his crew has provided 27 years of software needs. Give them a call. Shin Technology Service Corporation. You may reach him by phone at 317-545-3650 or shintechnology.com. For more information, contact Dave, 317-545-3650. You're listening to IndianaSRN.org. It is the Sports Zone. Thank you very much for joining us. Boy, are you in a treat now? A guy that I had to teach how to referee basketball way back about 30 years ago, Andy Conrad, is on the hotline for us. Hi, Andy. How are you?
Hi, Keith. How are you this morning?
Good. You know, you retired after this year and finally put it up a little bit, but still now it's called semi-retirement because you still have the golden whistle and you're still doing a lot of stuff with the youth program at Lawrence Township.
Correct. Yes. Decided to hang it up from the day-to-day varsity level, competitive level, but still have a desire to stay involved and to help younger officials and to be out there on the court.
Talk about when you first started. I know you and I officiated together when we first started. Some of us, like me, were stubborn and bullheaded, but you took a different approach, and you waited a little bit before you got that large schedule. Do you recommend that with young officials? Because I think because you waited, that helped you in situations that maybe if you rushed, you probably wouldn't know how to handle that.
Well, thank you for your great memory on that, Keith. Yeah, that was part of the strategy for me, at least. I believe my first varsity game experience came in my 5th year, and it may have been attributed to my skill level as well. But from that perspective, it was I felt like I was more comfortable on the court and had seen a lot more of the nuances of plays that could come our way as officials. So from that perspective, it worked in my favor. And obviously we don't know what's going to come our way every time we step on the court. But I felt like I was a little bit more prepared for maybe some of the uncertainties that come along with officiating by just waiting and holding off and working a lot of lower level games so I could see more plays and get a better grasp of the rules.
Did your coaching baseball at Skiles Test with Keith Myers behind the plate kind of tame you a little bit and knew what how you acted as a coach at times, and then getting ready for people as your career with basketball? Did that help you? Not saying that you were a loud coach, but there was competitive juices. Did that help you? Did your coaching Little League Baseball help you during your career officiating?
I think so. It did. Yeah. Having gone through that experience with my daughter and wanting to be involved in her development certainly helps. I think when you can step on the court as a basketball official and see things more from a coaching perspective, or from a fan perspective, or from a parent perspective, or even from a school administration perspective, I think that puts you in a better spot to be the best official that you can be. So again, great memory, Keith, on flashback to the early days of coaching. So thank you for that.
You bet. 30 years of officiating, the game has changed a lot. I don't think I could ever go back to the game and officiate a competitive varsity game or a college game. One, I'm out of shape. Two, I enjoyed this side of the court. As a guy, as a broadcaster, what have you seen that has changed in the 30 years? And I know this could be a long, open-ended question, but break it down. Maybe your first 10 years, your second 10, and then finally the years that you're getting ready and already retired for the game.
So I won't go on and on, but you do ask a great question, and if you kind of break it down, maybe first 10 years, middle 10 years, second 10 years, the first 10 years of officiating basketball, we saw, you and I and many others our age, came into it looking for, I guess you could say, mentorship, and those who have come before, and those that can share their wisdom, and those that can kind of guide you. So I took a great deal of pride in aligning myself with individuals that were successful, so that we too could be successful, and searching for those individuals and reaching out to those individuals, sticking around after doing a JV game and watching an entire varsity game, and then catching the conversation at the end of that game. But the athletes are different too. So obviously through the course of time, training, focus on single sport, AAU, development of summer programs, student athletes being more focused in a certain area has played into the development too. So, over the course of time, I think that first 10 years, you're searching for guidance, you're looking to be the best you can be. That middle 10 years then becomes, the settling in, the fine tuning, becoming even better by using your experience and your knowledge. And as you alluded to earlier, maybe slowing down a little bit, but staying sharp with the mind and staying sharp with the eyesight definitely helps. And then that final 10 years was used, primarily to really put a stamp on the career. And, I was proud of the way I approached it, and I was thrilled to work with great folks like yourself and a long list of officials that really, really were out there for the right reasons, which was to, monitor a game, allow the kids to play the game the way it's supposed to be played, but also to be knowledgeable and a good role model. So, so that I hope that helps answer the question. But yeah, we've seen a lot of changes over time, rule changes, student athletes. Those were probably the two biggest changes I've seen over the 30 years.
I was blessed to be able to call your last game at Guerin Catholic during a sectional. I know they presented you with the game ball, and thank you for your years of service. And you and I have gone back way back, and to broadcast and to webcast that ball game was very special to me. And that last whistle that you blew got kind of emotional, because I remember myself as my last game. I can remember my last call was a travel call. and walking off the gymnasium floor, leaving my uniform at Hanover College, and knowing that I was done. What was that day like? Take us from the first, when you woke up in the morning, knowing that this was the last game that you're going to call competitively.
Well, if I had known that you were gonna bless the game with prayers that night, I would have felt a lot better. And I'm so glad that you were there, and glad that you stepped up and recognized the importance of that evening to me. The evening was really not at all about me or the officials. And the more I officiated, the more I learned that and understood that. The night still belonged to the players and the coaches and the fans. And we are just so fortunate to get a chance to be out on that floor and be a part of what's an amazing tradition in the state of Indiana. But, the last night was really neat. I knew that from a competitive basketball officiating standpoint that this was going to be the last go round for me. And I was very fortunate to be with Greg Reese and Kevin Lewis, and Kevin handed me the ball before the tip and said, "It's your night, throw it up." So that even added more significance to it. But again, to have my family there and a lot of people that have followed me through my officiating career, to be there in the stands and understanding what it means to be a high school basketball official in Indiana, and to have gone through that for 30 years, and, to have family there, to have other officials there who can say, "You know what? I know what he's going through." I really, enjoyed that. And it was really a special night. And kudos to Greg and Kevin for letting me do my thing on my last night. So
yeah, you much deserve. Let's talk a little bit about the media, because when you first started 30 years ago, there was no Indiana SRN. There was no really media coverage on internet or web or TV that much until you got to the sectionals, regional, semi-state, and state finals. Talk a little bit about the media guys, because I know we had you a couple of times before this year where you sat down with us and say, "Okay, what do you need from us?" And we just let the kids play. We don't call any TV timeouts or any of those things until we get to sectional play. But is that made a big difference? And is that a big deal as officials to know if you're going to be on internet radio or webcast? Talk to the fans, because behind the scenes, I don't think sometimes they realize how important the official is to make that game run smoothly.
Well, it is. And so kind of back to one of our talking points earlier in this interview about, being prepared and being ready and not going too quickly. The last thing that you want to have happen, and it does happen to all of us at all levels, is something happen in that game that is out of your control, or that you can't manage properly, or even, the worst would be someone's safety is compromised. So to your point, Keith, unless there was a need to really change how you officiate based on media that night, so depending on the magnitude of the game, I really honestly tried to look at each game as just another game, take a deep breath, remember you're there for the kids and the fans, and to kind of stay out of the way. I think in my later days in my career, it was stay out of the way of these guys so they can do what they're really good at. With the improvements in media and the exposure, and radio and television has made a huge difference. But I try not to let that creep in. And again, unless it related to safety or the operation of the game, or how that factored into how the game was to run that night, those are important things for us to know, but not important things for us to take personally. More of, this is part of the process, so we need to be aware of it. We need to manage this properly. So I think it became more of a game operation thing than anything.
Yeah.
Which all of us, when we go out there, we're like, hey, what do we need to know? what do we need to know about these two teams? What do we need to know about the environment? What do we need to know about what it means to each team? Is it, one and done for them, or is this, a 3-game tournament where everybody gets 3 games? Those things need to be discussed, not necessarily acted upon, but you need to be aware. I think awareness is probably the biggest takeaway there.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan of Indiana SRN. Last question, and I'll let you go because I promised that I would make this brief. But talk a little bit about the community and now involvement with Lawrence Township, not only as the kids, but now you sit on that board of directors. I know that you and I see each other every Saturday. That season got cut short this year, but talk a little bit about your involvement and how does that mean that you give back to the community that you live in?
Thanks so much for asking that, Keith. That is probably, the asterisk on my career that I'm most proud of. And that is Lawrence Township Basketball League, based in Lawrence Township here in Marion County. When my son was in 3rd grade, it was time for him to begin playing recreational basketball. And I was asked by the president of the board to be a board member, and it was the best decision I've made. So I've been involved. Drew, who was 3rd grade at the time, is now a freshman at IU. So I've been involved for about, I want to say 12 years as a volunteer, and we deal with game day operations. I've recently taken over assigning of officials for half the league. So I was also commissioner of the 7th and 8th grade league this year. So it's a big time commitment, but as my days on the court as an official have slowed down, it's allowed me to step up more from a volunteer standpoint. And Keith, as well as anyone, that the success of a volunteer-driven organization, and in this case the LTBBL, is only as good as those folks who are willing to step up and give time primarily, and their gifts and talents to help out. And I just feel like it's a great way for me to give back. I've been able to reconnect with a lot of great officials, including yourself, through LTBBL. And it's also acts as a mentoring opportunity for officials, but it's also helping these kids of 400 plus kids that might not otherwise have an outlet to get out there on the basketball court and do what they do, and absolutely love it. And you're right, the season was cut short, but in hindsight, we had a very successful year, and this interruption was bigger than any of us ever imagined. But we'll get back to it again next season, God willing, and everything getting back to some type of normalcy. And LTBBL, wonderful volunteer opportunity. I'm so glad I'm involved, and thank you for asking me that question, because it's a big part of who I am.
Andy, I thank you very much for your time. I know you're a very busy man. During the season, you're welcome to come up into a booth if you would like to be a broadcaster. We'd love to have you. So
awesome.
You check that out with us, and we'll talk again. Okay.
Love it. Thank you, Keith. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for having me on the show.
You bet. We'll wrap things up when we come back. You're listening to Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
It's coming. It's coming. IPSathletics.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on IPSathletics.tv. Football, volleyball, basketball, and much more. Coming this fall, IPSathletics.tv. Let the games begin.
Hello, this is Deb from Indiana SRN, and I'm here to say thank you to our loyal sponsors, schools, coaches, and friends. Your support continues to keep high school athletics on internet radio and webcast. It is our goal to highlight student athletes throughout our great state. We are scheduled to broadcast over 300 games this season, and you can find us broadcasting at high school football stadiums, basketball and volleyball courts, baseball and softball diamonds, next to the wrestling mats, at lacrosse fields, and the soccer pitch. If you would like to know more about how to get your favorite school on radio or webcast, contact us by email at coach@indianasrn.org. Coach has enjoyed his time with you during the Sports Zone show. Thank you again. And if you're enjoying this show or would like to sponsor any of our broadcasts, you can contact us via email at coach@indianasrn.org. Thank you again for listening and watching Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game. And don't forget to join us Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern for the Sports Zone.
Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.